Griffball.
Alright, so on my last Assassination Tower affiliated video, I kinda touched upon Griffball a little bit, and it sparked this idea in a few people's heads that maybe I should make a video covering Griffball, and why the overall experience has been a lot less enjoyable lately. So at first I'm like, alright, it can't be that bad, and holy shit was I wrong. So I'm just gonna get straight into it. So yeah, after playing a few games of Team Slayer and getting sick of dealing with fucking Mexican players and their fucking flea market connection, and how they always stoop as low as humanly possible using the fucking cheesiest, most fucking crutch-like noob tactics in the game, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna go fucking play some Griffball, where it's not nearly as sweaty, and I can just chill out. And surprise, surprise, there's sweats there too, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, first game I join, everyone runs up to the ball, and I'm over here chilling like, alright, let's go. Ready to fucking start bashing heads in and fucking start sending bodies flying so far they start yelling out. And then next thing you know, everyone crouches next to the ball looking like they're fucking praying to it or some shit. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? One of my teammates grabs the ball, and then both sides run back to each other's bases. And by this point, I'm just like, are you fucking serious? No one kills each other. It looks like a fucking game of AT where everyone knows each other and you're just that one oddball. Yeah, pun intended. And you know what else? Get this. My teammate, who had the ball, ends up going to the other side to cuddle with the girl who's on the other team. So I quit, cause this shit is fucking retarded and most of all boring. Who goes on Halo Reach and thinks, you know what, I feel like doing absolutely nothing. So I leave and I'm like, okay, maybe I was just unlucky that time. So I start up another game and people started killing each other. So I'm like, oh, so you mean to tell me we're actually going to fucking play the game this time? And then they stop and go back to their bases and sit there as if they have their fucking thumbs up their asses or some shit. So I quit again, and you get the point. I played 5 games, and all 5 games were the same shit. Nothing but people standing around with their fucking thumbs up their asses. So why? Why do people do it? Well, it's a really boring way of boosting that's almost as bad as shooting into a dark cave for hours just to finally get a legendary engram, only to have it turn into a shitty green engram in the end. Yeah, that's a Destiny reference. But yeah, Griffball boosting has been around for years, but it's only really been starting to see the light of day now. Ironically, when the population of the game is at an all-time low. So what's wrong with it? It's absolutely harmless, right? Well, for one, you're not following the game's objective. Who gives a shit? If everyone's having a good time, then who cares? Why don't you just let us play our game? Why? Well, because it's fucking toxic. How so? Because it drives people away. People like me, or my fans, who have told me to make a rant because obviously they're clearly showing their distaste for this behavior. So what if people actually want to play Griffball, you know, the way it was actually fucking intended to be played, yet every game you go into ends up turning into a fucking boosting session. It discourages you from wanting to play the game because everyone else isn't even playing the game how it was intended to be played. And with this happening more and more frequently now as opposed to back then, chances are you'll just say fuck it and decide to play a different playlist or get off Reach and play a different game entirely. Look, people are free to play a game however the fuck they want, but if it gets to the point where it harms the community and discourages people from wanting to play the game, then that's when your actions become toxic and you should seriously start reevaluating what it is that you're doing here, especially if the objective of the game is being completely ignored. That's why this is so toxic. You drive people who actually want to play the game away from the game. And I get it, you know, you want to be an inheritor, and the game is way too grindy-ish, or whatever the fuck, when you get to the legendary ranks, you know, field marshal and the ranks that follow and shit. So you resort to boosting to get there quicker. If you want to boost, okay, whatever, go do that. But at least make sure you have a full lobby of friends, that way, that one random who actually wants to play the game doesn't end up getting discouraged. Oh, we shouldn't have to cater to that one person. But the thing is that that one person is just one of many people who get fed up and decide to call it quits. How the fuck do you think Assassination Tower came to be the most popular game type? You think the consistent tens of thousands of people who played back then just all of a sudden felt like playing the game all coincidentally at the same time? Fuck no. It started off small, then the popularity exponentially grew until it eventually became popular. And it didn't seem like a bad idea at first because this was the first Halo to include this flashy assassination fatality bullshit. What's the harm in creating a game mode where the kill that is otherwise so rare to see in regular settings becomes the only way to kill in this game mode, right? Doesn't seem bad. So of course people liked it at first, and then the game lasted too long to end because of the unreasonable score you needed in order to win. So people would leave and either play a different game type or leave Reach to play an entirely different game altogether. So then a few people played, and they played it often. As a matter of fact, they played it too often. And then when it finally got played the fuck out, the people who wanted to play a different game mode would eventually leave. And that kept happening exponentially over time until only the people who wanted to play AT were left. How do I know this? Because I saw it happen. It happened to me, and all of my friends who used to play Reach who no longer play the game anymore. The only thing they cared about was custom games, and since I still play the game, well, not really, I just go AFK all the time, they'd ask me what I'm playing on Reach. And my friends getting on Reach was completely dependent on my answer. If the answer was Assassination Tower, they'll just be like, nah, I'll keep playing Overwatch or For Honor or some bullshit. But if it's Infection, I bet we all in there. And that's where it brings us back to the very beginning. What if you wanted to play a diverse set of custom games, yet every time you go into a custom game it's Assassination Tower? It discourages you from wanting to play because everyone else isn't even playing the game how it was intended to be played. Hint hint, getting booted for killing people, aka the objective of the fucking game. And with this happening more and more frequently now as opposed to back then, chances are you'll just say fuck it and decide to not play custom games or get off Reach and play a different game entirely. Assassination started off that way, and what was the outcome? People stopped playing the game until only a cancerous few were left. And the same thing is happening to Griffball now. People are sick of the constant boosting on Griffball and are starting to leave the game. The game can only go downhill from here unless the behavior changes. My advice? Simple. If you want to boost, get a full lobby together. You only need 4 if everyone has a fucking guest controller. You having trouble finding people to form a full lobby with? Simple. If I played 5 fucking games of Griffball in a row where everyone but me had the intention of boosting, then it shouldn't be that hard to find someone that wants to boost as well. Do that until you have enough people for a full lobby. That way, there's no way someone who actually wants to play Griffball the way it was fucking intended to ends up getting paired in your lobby since obviously it's full. That way, the boosters play with the boosters, and the ones who want to play the game as intended will most likely get paired with other kids who want to play the game as intended. That's if there's any fucking left at this point. Alright, now for the sweats. You can't truly make a Griffball rant without addressing the sweaty Griffball players. So yeah, every game that you can possibly think of, regardless of how hard or easy it is to play, will always have a competitive audience to the game, regardless of how the game was intended to be played or its objective. Take a look at Super Smash Bros. Melee for the GameCube. A harmless party game you play with your friends, preferably drunk as fuck or fucked up off of some shit. But if you dig deeper, you'll find the fucking hyper-technical 20XX Fox nerd who still fucking quad shine grabs your shield with a broken middle finger. Yeah, that's me. Or my autistic cousin who plays Mario Party games competitively to try and get back on me and my other cousins for fucking beating him in every other game all the time. Or fucking Assassination Tower players, even though their game is purely based off of connection. Griffball is no different, and I mean that in both ways. By that, I mean that Griffball, like everything else, has a competitive audience. And just like Assassination Tower, it's purely connection based. Which is why it's funny to even think that players actually try and play this shit seriously. Like, do I even have to go into detail? How often have you guys played Griffball, been in your opponent's face, swung before them, yet you died and they didn't? Or what about that hidden mechanic that seems to give you this temporary buff? You guys have probably noticed it too, although it's a lot more subtle. Me and my friends caught on to this shit years ago. For whatever reason, after getting one kill, if you follow up fast enough, every kill after that seems to come way easier. It's like a cooldown or some shit, as if it gave you a boost to range. But yet, me and my friends didn't see this shit at all in Halo 5. And it makes sense that such a mechanic would exist for this game type. Why? Because it was meant to be a casual experience. And this little hidden mechanic helps the game to be just that, a casual experience, fooling you into thinking you're better than what you actually are to make the game feel more enjoyable. If you feel like you're good, you're gonna enjoy the game more. That's just fucking common sense. It's what a lot of games do today. They've become really fucking good at making you feel like a boss, even though you probably fucking suck and are just having your hand held by all these subtle mechanics that masks your horrible, undeveloped fundamental skill. Yet, you don't notice because you've been too conditioned by instant gratification that basically every other form of entertainment exploits today. But yeah, let me get back on track before you guys think I wear a fucking tinfoil helmet or some shit. To be honest, it's just dumb. You can play and enjoy whatever the fuck you want, but trying to pass off Griffball, of all things, as something deeper than what it is, as something that is genuinely suitable for a competitive environment, is nothing short of delusional, and probably a coping mechanism too. Similar to my autistic cousin, you probably got beat so badly, so many times in things that actually require skill, that you've fallen so low as to something so shallow as Griffball, as your last glimmer of hope to stroke whatever is left of your ego. Griffball, dude. A game type that's clearly fucking casual. Yeah, like I said, anything can be played competitively if you try hard enough, and sometimes you find that it's deeper than intended, like Super Smash Bros. Melee, and you find that it has a high skill ceiling with a ridiculously steep, genuinely rewarding learning curve. But Griffball? No, not even fucking close. But instead of just talking shit, if you really want to hear me get into it and burst you sweaty Griffball kids' little bubble, then fine. I really shouldn't have to, because if you seriously think that Griffball is objectively suitable for a competitive environment, then you most likely have no fucking clue as to what makes something suitable for competitive to begin with, but whatever. I'll shit on it anyway, just to bury this shit once and for all. Go hard or go home, right? So, the football comparison. I'm not gonna sit here and give you some fucking stupid ass knee-jerk argument like, oh, you can't compare them because they're two different things. No, that's always a shitty fucking argument in general. And people who usually retreat to that argument usually say that because they have nothing better to say and want to leave the argument with some sort of self-validation intact. Either that or they have no fucking clue what the fuck they're talking about. It's even more annoying when people do this shit with things that are in the same fucking genre, like, oh, you can't compare Biggie and Tupac. What the fuck you mean they can't be compared? They're both rappers, you fucking dipshit. Or, oh, you can't compare Reach to Halo 5. Like, what? It's fucking devoid of any fucking logic whatsoever. But fuck that, I'm getting sidetracked. The whole point of comparison is to take two different things and compare their pros and cons, and through logical reasonings, facts, and objectivity, can you come to an objective conclusion. So yeah, football has a total of 22 players on the field. Griffball is only 8. This means that Griffball doesn't have nearly the same amount of room to make the same amount of intricate plays like in football. Not even half. Overall, making it a much more watered down version. In other words, it's way fucking easier. Football is to Griffball what chess is to fucking Connect 4. And that analogy is highballing for Griffball. Not to mention the fact that you can't even throw the fucking ball. So there goes your little fucking football comparison team setup argument. And yeah, there's room for some setups, but again, some things take way more skill than others, and just because something takes an ounce of skill doesn't mean that it's fit for competitive. Next up, spacing and juking. So this is how the meta evolves for Griffball. You ready? Get close enough to your opponent and swing. Your opponent is dead. Now your opponent knows that you swing early, so instead of trying to swing first, they try and bait out your swing and try and hit you during the cooldown of your swing animation. Now you're dead. So now you know that he's going to try and bait you, and you're going to try and bait him, and eventually it just boils down to both of you backing up constantly. And at that rate, it could even take up to a full minute in between kills, and every time you do die, it seems like bullshit because of how far away it was. Wanna know why? Because it's purely based on connection. I'm no tech wizard, so bear with me here. Reach has an outdated netcode and runs on peer-to-peer servers, so its refresh rate suffers because of this. It's why close quarter situations always seem to be the laggiest, and not only Reach but any peer-to-peer server, Destiny being one of the most infamous prime examples of this. If someone's running at you at a distance, the game has more than enough time to fucking refresh over and over to register this person getting ever so closer to you. In close quarters, however, where things happen so fast, the game just doesn't have enough time to accurately display micro movements, especially if you take into account ping and all the other factors. Overall, lag and Reach's outdated servers invalidate what little spacing is even being done in close quarter situations. So when you're both trying to juke each other out and it feels like you got sniped by a fucking hammer, it's because of that. On your opponent's screen, your opponent was closer, but the game just didn't have enough time to display that to you in such a short amount of time, basically making this so-called juking out game no more than just a fucking guessing game. And the worse the connection is, the more delayed it becomes, to the point where it's just fucking undeniable bullshit. So yeah, Griffball is just another super inconsistent game type where connection heavily influences the game and has no room for other playstyles to be adopted, making it super vague and easy to play. You know, as intended. Like, I don't hate Griffball. Griffball is cool, but don't kid yourself. It's nothing deep. Everything takes skill to an extent, but some things take way more skill than others. And if there's an analogy to sum up the amount of skill that Griffball takes, Griffball is as shallow as a drop of water on the fucking sun. So yeah, to those kids who actually have serious practice sessions before heading into Griffball to try and warm up, you guys have been wasting your fucking time. You might as well try warming up with fucking rock, paper, scissors. That's how shallow Griffball is. Hell, even Rocket 1v1s on Guardian take more skill than Griffball. At least good positioning is somewhat rewarded in that scenario. But yeah, take the tryhard pants off and chill the fuck out. Trying to play something competitively with so much jank, chaotic factors and inconsistencies like Griffball will only lead to frustration. If you just chill the fuck out, you'll most likely enjoy the game more. As for the boosters, don't be so fucking short-sighted and selfish. How you get to Inheritor, I couldn't give two shits. But at least take into account how your actions could potentially have a negative effect on the rest of the game. And in your case, the boosters, like I explained earlier, by not forming your own lobbies, you're inadvertently alienating those who actually want to play the game as intended. I wouldn't even say it's inadvertent considering you get fucking flamed for killing, let alone scoring in Griffball. So yeah, if something is clearly lighthearted, don't take it so serious, just to try and desperately stroke your ego. And always evaluate your actions and see how it affects other shit. So yeah, take those things into consideration from now on when you do anything, and you'll see that it'll have a better effect on more than just a dead game.